Good morning, students. Welcome to the EVS class. In my previous video, I had started lesson number 11, means of transportation. Okay, as I have already told you, transportation means going from one place to another through any means. Okay, by any means of transport. Transportation is movement of people or goods from one place to another, and transport and these goods or people are transported through different means of transports. Then I told you about different modes of transport. That is, there are three modes of transport: land transport, water transport, and air transport. These are three modes of transport, and the vehicles which are used for these modes of transport are the means of transport. Yesterday I had discussed about land transport and water transport. Now today I will discuss about air transport. Air transport, airplanes and helicopters are the fastest means of transport. They are means of air transport. Astronauts use spacecraft to travel in space. Now, what is air transport? The mobility of men and goods. That is, mobility means movement. The movement of people and goods by air is called air transport. It is the fastest means of transport because it takes the shortest possible time, and it is very useful for long distances and it saves time also. So air transport is the fastest means of movement from one place to another. Okay, like for example, if we travel to Delhi, Varanasi to Delhi is around 750 to 800 kilometers. So if we travel by train, it takes at least 12 to 13 hours. Okay, but if we travel by air, it hardly takes 1 hour 15 minutes or 1 hour 20 minutes. That is all. That is the air time, the time which is taken by the aircraft. Okay, so you can just imagine how much time does air travel saves. So it has reduced distances by minimizing the travel time. The distance which takes around some places are so far away, if we travel by train, it takes more than one day. It takes almost 28 hours, 29 hours, 30 hours, but same distance is covered by air in just 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and so on. So it has reduced distances by minimizing the travel time. And since India is such a vast country, it's such a big country, vast matlab bahut bada and phaila hua. So India is such a vast country where distances are so much, climatic conditions are different, terrains are different. I mean, somewhere there's mountains are there, at some places plains are there. So it becomes very important to have air transport. And air transport it made a beginning in India in 1911. Okay, so air transport is the fastest means of transport, and it takes the minimum possible time. Okay, so maximum people prefer to travel by air nowadays, as people don't have so much of time. And by train, if people travel, train takes more time. At times trains get late, but of course everybody cannot afford to travel by air. So those who can afford, most of the people, they prefer traveling by air. I will show you some means of air transport. You can see aeroplane and helicopter. These are the main means of air transport, okay, through which people travel from one place to another. Other means of air transport are a rocket, airship, but these are not used for common traveling as such. Okay, they are not used for common traveling as such. Rocket, nobody travels in rocket. Rockets are they are meant for sending satellites to the space and all. In airship is used for adventure sports. It is not used for transporting people or good. In this picture you can see different means of transport which fly in air. Any means of transport which fly in air is air transport. Okay, because they run through airways. As I told you, the roads between two places is known as roadways. The tracks are known as railways, and these are some of the vehicles which run through airways. In air you cannot see the road, like the road you can see the road, you can see the tracks, but in air you cannot see the route. But these planes do have definite route. It's not that any plane can fly anywhere. They have definite routes, so they run through airways. These routes are called airways. So these means of transport which run in air are means of air transport. They run through airways. They run because they have wings like birds which help them to fly in air. Of course, machine is there, computerized machine is there. So these are some means of air transport. You can see aeroplane, helicopter, hot air balloon, okay, rocket, spacecraft, space engine, and so many things. So these are some means of air transport. So you can see there are different means of transport. Okay, we go from one place to another through different means such as by bus, car, scooter, train, aeroplane. Okay, if you can see so many different means of transport. If the distance is short, we go by walking also. And of course we have to move from one place to another. We cannot sit at one place all the time. Like from home you come to school, from school you go back to home. Sometime you go to the market, you go to your friend's place, you go to the park in the evening to play, you go to the market, so many places. So you cannot sit at home. You have to go from one place to another. So how do we go? We have to use some means of transport. So if the distance is short, we walk. Okay, then if distance is much bigger, if we have to go to a distant place, then we definitely use some means of transport. Okay, we just cannot walk everywhere. We cannot go walking everywhere. If it is a short distance, then we can walk. But then if we have to go to a distant place, then we have to use some means of transport. Okay, now in earlier days, in villages, bullock carts and horse carriages, like in my previous video I discussed about bullock carts and horse carriages, horse carts. You can see the difference between bullock carts and horse carts. Bullock carts are drawn by bullocks and they have two wheels. They are open from all sides. But horse carts are slightly comfortable. They are driven by horses. They have four wheels and they are covered. If somebody travels in bullock cart, if it rains, the person will get wet, or if it is very sunny, the person will feel uncomfortable. But in horse carts, it is closed from all the sides, so one can save himself or herself from rain, harsh weather, cold, too much of sun, dust, etc. So, okay, so in villages, bullock carts and horse carts carry people and goods from one place to another. But of course, nowadays even bullock carts and horse carriages are also not in use. People do not use these because everybody is quite well off now, and in villages also the roads are very good. The roads have become very good now, and all the roads are motorable roads. That means the vehicles can go there. Okay, and then in desert, in sandy area, desert, camel is the only means of transportation, because in desert no vehicle can travel. So in desert people move from one place to another, or they carry goods from one place to another, their luggage, on camel. Okay, camels are used. Camels carry people and goods from one place to another. So in desert and sandy areas, camels are the only means of transportation. Okay, in desert there's sand all around, no water, no tree, no shade, nothing, and camel is the animal which can remain without water for a very long time. Camel stores water in its hump. So camel can live without water for a very long time, and the feet of camel are padded. So camel can walk for long distance in desert. So in desert, camel is the only means of transportation. Okay. Then in cities we find many means of transport. If you come to the urban area, if you come to the city, you will see there are many means of transport. People use bicycle, cycle, motorcycle, cars, buses, okay, trucks. So many vehicles are there to move from one place to another. Then people use cycle, motorcycle, as I told you, car, buses, auto rickshaw, van. If distance is short, one might use cycle or bicycle or auto rickshaw or rickshaw. But if it is a long distance, people normally use buses, or they go by their own vehicle. And if it is a very long distance, then most of the people use train only. They go by train. Okay. Then for short distance, people move their goods थ्रू हैंड कार्ट्स ऑल्सो. हैंड कार्ट जिसको हाथ गाड़ी बोलते हैं. सो these are all means of transport. This you can see hand cart. So to carry goods, people use hand cart also. If it is not if the good is not very big or very bulky, people and if it is a short distance, so people use these hand carts are also used to carry goods from one place to another. And of course people carry their goods, they move their goods in tempo. Okay, in big trucks. Mostly big trucks are used for carrying big amount of goods, or if it is something very big like vehicles, four-wheelers are produced in the factories, and then from there four-wheelers are there, two-wheelers are there, and other means of transportation, they are produced, and from there they are taken to the shops in these big trucks only. Okay, from where they are sold in the market. So to carry goods, people use hand carts, tempos, trucks, etc. Okay, and then to travel long distances, we mostly use either train or buses. Buses fine, but for very long distance, people normally use trains, because buses do not travel for such a long distance. So for traveling long distance, we use buses or train. Okay. Trains are most comfortable and very cost effective means of transportation. Why? Because it runs at a great speed. It can carry a lot of people at the same time. Buses cannot carry so many people at the same time. Trains carry so many people at the same time. And in between from one destination to another, in between there are so many stations. So train is the most cost effective means of transportation. Because air travel, everyone cannot afford to travel by air, but everyone can afford to travel by train. Then heavy goods are transported in goods trains, जिसको हिंदी में मालगाड़ी कहते हैं. देखा होगा आप लोगों ने, you must have seen. So goods and luggage is transported from one place to another in goods train. We travel in normal trains, and the goods are transported from one place to another in goods train. Okay, then these are all means of land transportation. Okay, these are all means of land transportation. Then we come to the means of water transportation. To travel by sea, we use ship or boat. Ships are big, boats are not so big. Boats are small. Now we have machine boats also. Okay, for traveling a long distance, people travel by ship, but not in earlier days when so many flights were not there. People used to travel by ship, but not anymore. Nowadays people prefer traveling by air or by train or by bus. But if anybody wishes to travel by sea, by water, then a ship is used. And for carrying goods also, there are certain things which are transported from one place to another through waterways only. Through waterways, that is by ship only. And as I told you in my previous video also, that in villages and in rural areas, people still cross the river through boat. In extreme interior areas where there are no bridges over the river, so people cross the river by boat only. Rainy season, many a times the bridge gets washed away, or it gets broken, or it gets submerged. So people travel through boat only to cross the river. So boats are still in use. Boats are there. If it is slightly modern village, then people use motor boats also. Okay, then I told you about cruise ships. Cruise ships are luxury ships which are used by people for, you can say, for entertainment. Okay, then air transport. Air transport, you can see the map of India. You can see different some places in this map, and you can see the symbol of aeroplane. So you can see that from going from Mumbai to Delhi, air takes such a short route. If the same distance is traveled by train, it will take so much of time, because it will go through so many states, it will cross many places. But air, it takes shortest possible time. And the line which you can see, this yellow line which you can see, is the route. Okay, so in air you cannot see it, you cannot see the route, but specified routes are there, and it is very difficult to control the air traffic, because the routes are not seen. It is very difficult to control the air traffic, because one has to ensure that no two planes fly in the same route, through same route at the same time. Okay, so one has to take care of lot of things. So controlling air traffic is very difficult. So air transport is the fastest means of transport, and it takes least time. सबसे कम time लगता है. It is the fastest means of transport. You can see, to travel very long distances or to reach certain destinations, we have to go by aircraft only. Like if we have to go from one country to another where one has to cross the sea also, then there is no other option but to go by air only. There is no other option, because one cannot cross the sea by boat or by ship. Ships are not used anymore as such. One cannot travel by bus or by train. So if one has to go to some place where the sea has to be crossed, then there is no other option but to travel by air only, because that is the only means of transportation, and to carry very long distance. And like people travel from India to America, to European countries, to Britain. So one cannot travel by train or by bus. Aircraft is the only means of transport. So to go to certain places, there are certain places where one has to travel by air only, and aeroplane is the fastest means of transportation. It takes, as I told you, it is the fastest means of transportation. It takes the least possible time. Okay, now coming back to the lesson, Air transport. So, we have discussed in detail about air transport. Air transport is the fastest means of transport. Okay? Astronauts use spacecraft to travel in space. Uh, for staying in space, people are specially trained. Everybody and anybody cannot go there. One has to be trained. So people who go to the space are known as astronauts. So they use spacecraft to travel in space. Okay. Now you can see the picture of one of the airline. There are so many airlines operating in India. Air India is the national carrier. That means it is owned by the government of India. It is a national carrier. And apart from Air India, there are so many private airlines like Indigo, Vistara, SpiceJet, and many more. Okay, Go Air. So there are so many flights. There are so many. I mean, airlines nowadays, and so that is why it has become easier to travel by air. It is easier to travel by air. So anybody, if the person can afford, they prefer to travel by air. And then there are so many international airlines. International airlines means the airlines operating between two countries. That is, they are known as international airlines. So you can see the image of a plane. This is, you can read the alphabets DHL. DHL, it used to be an, DHL is a courier service. Okay. And then you can see the picture of helicopter. Helicopter is used in areas where planes cannot land. There are certain areas like in hills or in remote areas, especially in northeastern part or northern part of the country, where aircrafts cannot reach. There people are dropped by helicopter. There in those areas, helicopter operate for carrying people, for carrying goods, like army personnel are posted in so many remote areas in snow where aircrafts cannot land. So for them, they are dropped through helicopter. Food and everything is carried through helicopter, because aircrafts need a long runway to take off and to land. जैसे ब्लैक रोड होती है, सड़क होती है, एयरक्राफ्ट्स नीड अ लॉन्ग रनवे बिफोर टेकिंग ऑफ. दे स्टार्ट एंड देन their speed increases and then they take off. मतलब हवा में फिर वो उड़ जाते हैं. So they need a long runway. The road on which they aircraft, before taking off or before landing, the road on which they run is known as runway. So they need a long runway to take off and to land. When aircrafts land also, when it touches the ground, then it runs on that runway and slowly it comes to a halt. And similarly, for taking off also, it starts at a slow speed, then slowly the speed increases and it takes off. But helicopters can vertically land at any place. मतलब वो किसी भी जगह पे सीधे लैंड कर जाते हैं. उनको किसी रनवे की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ती है. They can land vertically. They have motor on top, they have fan on top, and they can run, they can drop anyone vertically. They can land and they can take off from any place. So the areas where aircrafts cannot reach, helicopters are used. For all the remote areas, for hilly areas, for where it snows a lot or maybe it rains. Okay. So these are three modes of transport: land transport, water transport, and air transport. Now, tell me, what is a glider? What is a glider? Glider is a light aircraft. It is without any engine. There is no engine in glider, and it flies using air. हवा जो जैसे the way a kite flies. पतंग आप जब उड़ाते हो तो कैसे उड़ती है? जिस डायरेक्शन में हवा चलती है, पतंग उस डायरेक्शन में उड़ती है. तो सेम वे ग्लाइडर इज अ लाइट एयरक्राफ्ट विच इज it flies using air currents, and it does not have an engine. In my next video I will show you a picture of glider, how it looks like. It is not meant for carrying people from one place to another or transporting goods. Now, did you know school buses have a special color? You must have noticed that all the school buses are yellow in color. A yellow bus can be spotted easily from a distance, even in the dim light of dawn and dusk. All the school buses are painted yellow. It is mandatory for all the school buses to be painted yellow, because yellow is a bright color and it can be spotted easily, even from a distance. Even if it is dark or early morning when sunlight is not there or it is dark, yellow buses can be spotted very easily and from a distance also. So that is why the school buses are painted yellow. Now, keywords. What are the keywords in the lesson? Engine. What are engines? Some vehicles have machines called engine, except for maybe bicycle or and rickshaw. All the other vehicles have engine. All the other vehicles run on engines. So engines are the machines on which or through which the vehicles run. Even a small vehicle like auto rickshaw or scooty or scooter, then big means of transportation, trains, aircrafts, all these vehicles, all these transports have means of transports have engines. Okay, they run on machine which are known as engines. Then there are three modes of transportation: land transport, water transport and air transport. Okay, vehicles which travel on land or road or on a truck are called land transport or surface transport vehicle. As I told you yesterday, in land transport also there are two forms of land transport: rail transport and road transport. The vehicles which run on road are means of road transportation, and the vehicles, that train is the only vehicle which run on rail, is called rail transportation. So vehicles which travel on land, on road or on a track are called land transportation or surface transport vehicles. Then water transport. Means of transport that are used for traveling on water are called water transport. Means of, as the name says, means of transport that are used for traveling on water are known as water transport, like boats, ships, cruise ships, okay, machine boats, etc. And then air transport. Means of transport that use air as medium for traveling are called air transport. Means of transport that fly through airways are known as air transport. They use air as medium for traveling. मतलब जो उनके travel करने का जो medium है, that is air. So those vehicles are known as air transport. Aeroplane is the main means of transport for carrying people and goods, and helicopters are used where aeroplanes cannot land, where aeroplanes it is difficult for, because flying an aeroplane, they need to fly at a certain height. Aeroplanes can helicopters can come down to some extent, but for aeroplanes a certain height is required, below which it becomes dangerous for them to come. So even in if it is very dense area where dense forest is there, a lot of trees are there, helicopter can still land. Helicopter can land on big roofs also, flat roof of big houses. There also helicopters can land. You must have heard, like if there is some flood is there, people are stuck in between waters, their house is submerged in water. So many a times it so happens that helicopters land. If the house is big enough, if the roof is big enough, helicopter can land on the roof also. Helicopters can land in any big field also. So it is easier for helicopter to land. So the places where aeroplanes cannot reach, helicopters are used. Okay. Then what are the things to remember? The things to remember, that is the main points of this lesson, are: We use vehicles to travel from one place to another. Some vehicles have engines and need petrol, diesel or CNG to run. As I discussed in my previous video also, CNG is compressed natural gas. All these vehicles need, even the aeroplanes, they also need fuel. They fly on fuel only, but they have a different kind of fuel. The fuel used for aircrafts are different from petrol and diesel. So vehicles have engine. All the vehicles which have engine definitely need either petrol, diesel or CNG. There are many cars which run on diesel. There are many cars which run on petrol. Okay, and most of the public transport like auto rickshaw and buses, especially in metropolitan cities, they run on CNG, compressed natural gas, because it does not create, it creates no pollution. Okay, it is environment friendly, and the fastest way to travel is by air. Faster aeroplane is the fastest means of transport. मतलब सबसे तेज जो means of transport है, that is air. In my next video I'll again revise the lesson and then we will do the exercises. So children, I will stop here. In next video, first I will do the revision of the lesson, entire lesson, and then after that I will explain the exercises. So thank you for today. Goodbye.